Are your writing habits inconsistent? Do you wish they were more consistent? Well then this video is the right video for you. Hi, I'm Jim Brady, and today on Indie Opinions, I'm going to be talking to you about writing to a word count and how it helps with consistency. So, I've been using this method since I've worked on my first published book, Ruby Rain. I've been doing this for all of about 3 years now, and it works great for me. But just a note, just because it works for me doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work for you. Just getting that out there. And the reason it works for me is because if I don't have a goal, I find that my writing is very inconsistent, like the amount I write per day. Because I used to set hourly goals. I used to write for 1 hour every day. And that's not a bad method of writing by any means. If it works for you, by all means, keep doing it, but it just didn't work for me. So I decided to try a new method. I decided to try writing when I was first started doing this. I set it to 500 words per day, which to me now is really easy. I've built it up since. It's now 700. But the point of writing to a word count limit, well, it's not even a limit, it's a minimum, word count minimum, is that it makes sure that you are consistently writing at least this amount per day or per session if you don't write every day. But to my mind, this helps you write every day as well. Because if you saw my video in season 1 where I talk about how to write every day, I do mention this, but I'm going to go into more detail. So when I write, the reason I set it to, well, currently it's at 700. The reason I set it to that is because I know I can quite easily surpass that. Well, not necessarily easily, but I can quite consistently on a daily basis. And I know that I can write that amount per day, every day, without being drained. Like finding what's the right word count for you might take a couple tries. Like initially, I'd say you should set it quite low, set it to maybe 300, 400, and go from there, and then add it up as you go along, as you realize what you like doing. And I mean, it could be as low as 100 if you really don't have the time to be writing for long stretches. But yeah, this is the method I've been using for years, and if you see how consistently my books come out, you know that it's working, because I release at least one book per year currently. Last year I released two, so I'm not necessarily saying this is a quality of guarantee. Like I can't tell you that writing this amount per day will always be good, because on some days when you really feel like writing, you're really in the zone, you feel like your writing's amazing, and maybe it is, and then other days where you feel like it's crap, and you can't really get a word in, and you have writer's block. But this also helps with writer's block, in my opinion. Like it helps bridge it and make you go, because it takes me like 400 to get into it, and then I set a higher goal so that I usually go above. Like I'm gonna briefly just go over how much I actually wrote per day. Like this is an average for when I was writing my book that came out in December, Sapphire Sunlight, which you can get on Amazon. I will put the link in the description. But for the rough draft, my word count goal was always 700. But for the rough draft, my average was 761, and for my rewrite, it was 803. So it's not that much higher, but I didn't really need it to be higher, to be honest. And like this is really good if you also want to write to a deadline. Like what I also do, like if you're one of those writers that likes writing to a deadline, then I'd really recommend using this method. But if you're not, then by all means you don't have to. It's not a be all and end all of you must do this thing. I just find it helps me a lot more than writing to for any specific amount of time per day. Because like I mentioned before, writer's block is a very, very big issue among writers, and it can claim you to the point that on one day you write about 2,000, 3,000 words, and the next day you write one or two. Obviously, these are extreme examples. It could vary from the end of the spectrum. Like maybe some days you write 1,000 and some days you write 500. But, and you don't feel good when you write the lower part. And this just helps, like, with you mentally as well. Just helps you to, like, just know how well you're doing and whether you're on track. Like, I know NaNoWriMo does stuff like this, but I don't really subscribe to that, so this is just my own way of doing it. So anyway, that's just my opinion on this. Like, the whole idea of writing efficiently. Like, if you want to be a prolific author, I'd say you should try to do this. If it doesn't work for you, then, it doesn't work for you. But if you find that it does work for you, then that's great. And anyway, so I asked people of the writing community on Twitter, or on follow me on Twitter at Jim Brady Writes, if you want to be involved in these pollings that I do every 2 weeks. I asked, how many words do you write per session/day? And out of 21 voters, 38% of them said they only write 1 to 500 words. 19% said they write 501 to 1,000 words. Another 19% said they write 1,001 to 1,500 words. And 24% said that they write more than 1,500 words. So yeah, in this polling, you can quite clearly see that if people average it out, they're not writing all that much on like a daily or a sessionally basis. And I would probably place bets that they want to write more. And I even got I think the first time this season, I got like written replies from people who were mentioning how much they write per day. And yeah, I'm just gonna read some of those out now. Well, all of them. I'm gonna read all those now out. At Mark E.G. Dory 1 says, I have done 10,000 words in 24 hours, then took a 3-week break, then went back and polished it all, adding 200 more words in one night, then another break, then 4 weeks of 18-hour, 7-day weeks, then a 3-week break, quite chaotic, I allowed it to happen and never force it. And yeah, like I said before, if this method of writing works for you, absolutely keep doing it. It just doesn't work for me, but if it works for you, then, that's great, you keep doing it. And, okay, so at MP McDonald 2 says 1,200 words per session pretty consistently. I do about 1 hour sessions, I just need to do them more often. So yeah, my advice to MP would probably be maybe set the word count limit a bit lower. If you want to do them more consistently, then maybe it's because the reason you don't do it is because you realize you have to do 1,200 in these sessions, or that you do generally in 1 hour, and you're like, oh Christ, I don't want to write for an hour, I don't want to do this amount. But like, when you set a word count limit, you don't really think about how long it's going to take. At least I don't. I average out to like 45 minutes and to an hour, to be honest, but on good days, like half an hour when I'm really into it. But like, I don't really think about how long it's going to take. Just do it. I just go like, okay, I have this amount of words to do, so I'm gonna do that. But if you set like a goal of like maybe 1,000 words, if you're trying to write a full novel, because I don't write full novels, I write novellas at the moment. So 700 words a day works for me, but when I do write a full novel, to get it out as quickly as possible, I am going to set my word count minimum daily goal higher. And yeah, anyway, that's just a little bit of my advice. And at Chinact says 1,001 to 1,500, but on a good day, far more than that, up to 5k. And that, yeah, so that's what I was saying before. Like, the way I set my limit of 700 is like sometimes I write only 700, then I stop, then I go, no more, I can't. Because I'm having a, not writer's block per se, but I'm having one of those days where I don't really feel like it, or I'm too tired, or whatever. But on the days when I'm really into it, I write like up to 1,500. So it's just a model of consistency, basically. At Bo Thunbo says, I just started a new project and so far the writing is easy. I plan to hit 1,000 a day, but I am averaging just over 2,000. I'm sure that will slow down as I get deeper into it. Right on. Okay, so yeah, sounds like he's using the same method I use. He's just doing it on a bigger scale. So yeah, if that works for you, then by all means keep doing it. Maybe set it a bit higher if you're averaging out 2,000, and maybe then you'll write even more. Atloy writes says, where is the option for 0? And I responded that you need to write at least one word for it to count. For the context, me being this mean is because she's my girlfriend. I wouldn't say that to someone I didn't know. But yeah, that's just what people have said. That's just what some people have said about writing, how much they write per day. Like I said, I write about 700-ish, sometimes 800, sometimes 900, sometimes a little bit less if I build up. Like today, I've literally just done a writing session today, my daily writing session today, like 10 minutes ago. And I didn't write 700, I wrote 670, but yesterday I wrote about 900, so it averages out. So yeah, you can. That's another thing about this. You can take liberties when you write more in one day, and you don't feel it the next day. You can go like, okay, well, I already wrote this amount yesterday. I don't want to write that amount again. So you can write a little bit less than your minimum, because it's not like a fixed minimum. I would never say use a fixed minimum unless you really need discipline. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I think it helps with consistency a lot. But obviously, if it doesn't work for you, then that's cool too. Anyway, I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And right on.